Sunday, SonRise family. Welcome to the Sunday support call on this beautiful, chilly day, depending on where you are. But here in the Northeast, it's cold, still cold, not as cold as it has been. And clearly, I am not Kelli, but I am a part of Kelli's team. I'm Dr. Vicki Johnson, and our executive director, DSAP, and I are happy to welcome you to today's Sunday support call. Welcome again to our weekly SonRise Project call. We are so happy that you are here and hope that you find a moment of solace and peace as we share and learn from one another in this safe space that's filled with massive love, compassion, and a mutual desire to heal our children, our families, and ultimately ourselves. As Kelli shares every Sunday before we get started, God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Our guest today, I am excited. She is a gift. I would encourage you to take some notes. Find her after this call. She's amazing. She is a certified parent health coach. I'm going to say that again. A certified parent health coach, Courtney Capece. Courtney is a certified integrative nutrition health coach, the owner of Committed Change Health and Wellness LLC, and she's a proud boy mom. She successfully completed coursework through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, an incredible institution, and is trained in all aspects of integrative health and wellness techniques, mind, body, spirit, and nutrition. Prior to becoming a parent health coach, Courtney worked in the pharmaceutical healthcare industry in both private and public sectors for 25 plus years. A desire to improve her own personal health while pursuing a career driven by passion, dedication, and a commitment to helping others led Courtney to seek training as a health coach. With newfound health and crystal clear focus, she established Committed Change Health and Wellness to help other parents and caregivers discover the wellness routines that work for them and to empower them to achieve their own unique health goals. And you can find more information about Courtney and her work and her practice via her website at committedchangehealth.com. And that's all spelled out. Welcome to SonRise, Courtney, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vicki. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here.
So excited. I want to jump right in because I know toward the end when we have Q&A, there are going to be a lot of questions and people will want the ladies and gentlemen on the call with us today will want more information. What is a parent health coach? What's the difference between that and a standard health coach? What is a parent health coach?
Yeah, so I'll back it up a little bit as well. So there are life coaches, and then there are health coaches, and then there are parent health coaches. So when you get a certification as a life coach, you are certified to work with people one-on-one, listen to them, help guide them, help move them along, help them make decisions. When you become certified as a health coach, you come at it from a different perspective. Yes, people need to make changes in their lives. There's questions that they have. They need to move on in different areas, but you're also more invested in the mind, body, spirit aspect of their evolution. And then as you take that further step to parent health coaching, it literally is working with people who are in a parent or caregiver role, because you don't have to be an actual parent. You can be someone who is, raising, foster kids, adopted kids, your sister's kids, what have you. And it takes on a different element because you are giving more of yourself, and there are different things that come along with being a parent. So you need to take care of your health, And that's one thing that you don't get with life coaching or health coaching. You are taking care of those unique aspects of being a parent or caregiver that impact your health. So that's kind of a subtle difference.
That is so good. Like, I'm already excited. I have like 15 questions running through my head at one time.
I'm ready.
Talk about the unique impact of being a parent, the unique impact of being a caregiver, and then I'm going to even add the unique impact of being a parent of children, youth, young adults with different abilities,
Absolutely.
different capacities, maybe some challenges. Can you talk about specifically what is unique to parents in the space, like here in the SonRise community, who have children? How are we impacted differently than other parents, if you will, based on your experience and your work? Because you're the parent of a boy, mom, so proud of him. So can you just share some insight that may be blind spots for us?
Yeah, well, and the thing is, they may be blind spots when we start, but they become crystal clear as we start with our differentiated children. When we become parents, everyone thinks, okay, I've carried this child, I've adopted this child, I've brought this child into my life, and everything's going to be great. If you're on a regular or what we call standard parenting journey, there are ups and downs. That's every parenting journey. There are ups and downs. But when you have a child that is dealing with a condition, it becomes different because your focus changes. At first, there's like a little moment of confusion about what happened here. Like, how did we kind of get away from the plan that I thought this was going to be? So that's one of the things I tell people right away when I'm working with someone who has a child that has, either a mental illness or, any other significant challenge. Take a step back. This is not the journey that you thought it was going to be. So first and foremost, that's what makes it different. This realization that all of a sudden, oh, this isn't going to go like clockwork. And when you realize it's not going to go like clockwork, then you have to make an adjustment. And when you have a child like my child, I'll speak very freely about my child. So my son is 14, and he was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 6. And so some people say, well, ADD, ADHD, there is a difference. ADD, you are, a little bit more out of focus. Maybe you have, some impulsivity. But when you have ADHD, there's that hyper component that comes with it. And my husband and I were older parents when we had our son. And so not only had we become parents and we had this expectation of what the journey was going to be, then we got an ADHD diagnosis and everything that came with it. Oh, Lord, we didn't sign up for this. So I tell people the first thing they need to do is go ahead, grieve for the child that you thought you were going to have.
That's good.
I think it's very, very important that people have that period where they grieve for the child that they thought they were going to have. And now you have to do a 180. You have to prepare yourself to parent the child that you were given. And that's what makes it so unique, because your journey is not going to look different, is going to look very different from your next door neighbor's journey, because they're having what people would say is the normal parenting experience. And yours is going left, right, and center because you are dealing with something very different. And so I always tell people, take that moment, grieve, realize what it is, and then you have to start moving forward with how you adapt to this new normal in your life.
That is so, so good. And I can almost guarantee that, comparison only adds to our anxiety.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Like you said, grieve for the child you thought you'd have, and then
Embrace the one you got.
the
Embrace the one you
that's
got.
good.
And there is no normal parenting journey. Even parents that have children that they feel are the perfect child, it was the journey they thought they were going to have. Something's going to come up that they are like surprised by or unhappy with. There is no such thing as a normal parenting journey.
And I think that's the power of our SonRise community here on this Sunday support call, is knowing that you're not alone, right? The more we talk about it, the more equipped we become the more space we can create, right, to go on this parenting journey in a healthy way. And then we add the expertise of a Courtney Capece, who not only is committed to, pun intended, committed to helping us change,
That's the point.
our habits and patterns, but you're living it. You have lived experience, which makes you a safer place, if I can say it that way. I think one of the things I love about the SonRise community here on the Sunday calls is it's a safe space because we are each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
We mirror one another and have a lot of the same shared experiences. Can you talk about, Courtney, please, what is emotional agility? I saw that on when I was perusing your website. And again, we have had a prior conversation when you were on my show as well. But can you
Mm-hmm.
talk about the importance of emotional agility and why it's critical for us, or a critical skill to develop if you don't have it as a parent and or caregiver?
Yeah. If you don't have emotional agility, you're going to be very rigid in your approach to your parenting with your child. So I'll even take a step back. So emotional agility is the ability to just flow. And I think what a lot of parents do, whether it's we come to parenting from our own experience from being parented. I'll start there. So when we come from our own experience, we either love the way that we were parented or we are fighting against the way we were parented. And very interesting enough, my sister and I had the same parents, but we come at parenting from a very different perspective. My experience with parenting was not the journey my sister had with parenting. So her whole goal has been to be a 180 from what she experienced. My whole goal has been to provide my son with the experience I feel like I received. And when you have emotional agility, you're able to either go with the flow and make that decision, or you're going to fight against what is inherently in you. And when you're presented with that child and you've grieved for that child that you thought you would have, and then you've embraced the child that you have to have emotional agility, because you're not going to have, and I'm just going to show you with the hand, you're not going to have this parenting experience. You're going to have this parenting experience. And that's why you need to be able to be here emotionally 1 minute, and you need to be here emotionally the next minute. And some people will say, well, that sounds really chaotic. It actually is more forgiving and more adjustable than you think. Because when you are dealing with this kind of parenting journey and you're fighting against every step along the way, you're actually stressing yourself out more. So I'll give you an example. I'm on this call. Very often I take a lot of calls. Very often I do presentations. Most parents know if they tell their child, I'm on a presentation, I'm on a call, don't come in. Do not be surprised if my son pops in and puts his head in after many times of me telling him, I'm on a call, I'm doing a presentation, and I have to flow with that. There was a time where I would get so worked up and stressed and angry. And so now I just set the expectation that he could pop in, and I'll have to let everyone know, well, my son is here. He'll be here for a second and he'll be back out. So when you have emotional agility, you have given yourself an opportunity to know that there's going to be things coming at you left, right, and center, but you're going to be able to flow with those. And emotional agility is key for parents with kids who have different abilities, because if not, you're constantly fighting. You're in a fight or flight situation in your body, in your spirit. So emotional agility helps tamp that down. Very long answer to your question, but I don't think I could have done it in a more encapsulated version.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect, actually, because what the word that's flashing before me in my mind is patience. And how, how can we develop more patience as parents?
So that's a tough one, but there's a very simple solution. It's simple in its theory, but it can be difficult in practice.
Okay.
And what it really is having hope versus expectations. So when you have expectations for your child that they will think like this, or they will act like this, or they will do this, you sort of set that stress in your body. And when that expectation isn't met, you are upset, you are angry, you have some kind of knee-jerk reaction. When you have hope, you are pleasantly surprised when what you've asked your child to do or how you've asked your child to act is, you know, shown to you. When they do act in a different way, when they do something in a different way, you have to take that deep breath, say, I had hope, and you keep having hope. And if you keep having hope, you can develop patience because once again, it gives you that emotional agility to keep moving forward. I tell most of my patients, you cannot be rigid in your expectations. You have to have hope. And when you have hope, your shoulders aren't up to here. You're not worked up, constantly disappointed. And that's what helps you have patience. And patience is something that you work on in terms of taking a deep breath, having those inter-conversations. I have a lot of inter-conversations with myself. My son will be in his room playing a video game and yelling. If I'm in a bad mood, if I have low energy, my knee-jerk reaction may be to get up, storm down the hallway and say, keep it quiet. But sometimes I will take a breath. Okay, I can deal with this for a little longer. And when I can no longer deal with it, I go down and knock on the door and say, hey, I'm working. Do you mind keeping it down? And instead of me going in there angry, he'll say, oh, sorry, Mom. He'll keep on going. And so being able to stop, take a beat, calm myself down, think about what my next step is going to be. It took me years to get to that because generally we go from like 1 to 100 because that nerve has been plucked. But when you start to have hope versus expectations of behavior and you're able to have that emotional agility, you start to develop more patience. And when you have more patience, it's a mindset, it's an awareness, and it takes time.
So good, Courtney. So good. It also speaks to the power of having self-awareness and really being honest and checking in with ourselves, before going outward to parent or give care, for someone else that we love. You also have been trained in integrative nutrition, and I, for a long time, did not consider the impact that our diet and that nutrition has on our emotions and on our behavior, on our whole person. Can you talk about the power of integrative nutrition and how it can really be a tool to support us?
Yeah. And in one word, it's sugar. I mean, we hear about it in the news all the time. There's too much sugar. Americans eat too much sugar. Sugar's bad. And it's very true. If you look at everything from neurology to cardiology, it's all based on sugar. Sugar brings about inflammation in the body, and inflammation in the body just lights you up. And it really lights you up in terms of your mental abilities. That's why people have addictions to sugar. Sugar is something that people become addicted to. So when you think about parenting and you think about the behavior of children, I mean, I don't know how many of us have taken our kids to the doctor and the doctor has said, does your child have any food allergies or is there anything that sets your child off? And at first you kind of wave it off because you think, well, the kid's got to eat. But if you're putting a lot of sugar in your child and you're getting wild behavior, they kind of go together. That is the same for parents as well. You will be short-tempered. You will be tired. You will look for the highs and lows if you're eating too much sugar. So what I try to work with my parents on is having a more balanced diet. And when I say diet, it's not eat this at this time and do this at that time. It really is being very mindful about what you eat, but being mindful about what you eat that is not sugar laden, that is good for you, and it's manageable. Because when people are given a prescriptive diet, they immediately get bored with it, they can't keep up with it, they fall off with it. What I tell people to do is limit the sugar, get more protein in your diet. Protein will really help balance your blood sugar, which helps balance your emotions, which helps balance your response when you're in those stress situations. So I work with people to look at what they're eating, take more of the sugar out, put more of the protein in, and give them food for energy as well. Because everyone knows anyone in a parenting or caregiver situation needs energy. I mean, we always hear, I'm tired. I got nothing left.
Mhm.
So food, if you're eating the right foods, will sustain that energy that you need. And that's why it's very, very important to talk about nutrition when you're talking to parents, because most of us are busy. We need to eat on the go very quickly, and then we throw it in our kids as well, because we're moving from place to place to place. So not only do you want to think about what you're putting in your body, you want to think about what you're putting in your kids' bodies too, because it does you no good to calm yourself down in terms of your inflammation in the body if
Yeah.
you're amping up their inflammation in their body. They all go together, very symbiotic.
Most of us haven't thought about that. That's why that was so rich. That's why it was so rich. Why I wanted to bring in the whole concept of integrative nutrition. Yeah, we hear sugar, but we're like, yeah, that's like the third, fourth, fifth layer of what I'm dealing with. So the
Yeah.
purpose, one of the intentions for today is to bring it closer into our awareness so that we can consider it, right? Like we're not going to make these changes completely in 180 degrees in a
No.
moment because we did not get here in a moment.
Yeah.
I think it's so powerful to have you here with us to just share some simple things like less sugar, more protein,
Hmm.
not just thinking of our diets as parents, but thinking about what we're giving our children. So, as you said, there's that symbiotic relationship, and it's so, so powerful. I want to just pause for a moment and
Hmm.
ask if anyone has any questions, because I have some more, but I want to share the wealth and allow any of our guests today here in our community. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute or hit *6 if you're on the phone. Does anyone here have any questions so far that you'd like to ask Courtney? Looking, let me see. You can just unmute if you do, or hit *6 if you're
Good
on the.
morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I had a question about emotional agility. And
Sure.
thank you all for having us. Um, I have a challenge with one of my children that has gone um, has gone to behaviors that have affected our family in very big ways. Issues
Hmm.
with addiction and getting in trouble with the law.
Hmm.
Um, and we definitely have and these things have been continual processes to the point where dad and I are no longer as agile as we are. We have been through the grief process of very much like you has dealt with the ADHD from a very early age, but as he got older, he's 16 now, almost 17.
Hmm.
um, just going through a downward spiral in terms of the emotional agility that we have left. And I think that some of the rigidity that we have taken on is more protection of
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, so how at this point where things have gotten to a place where we are just sort of going day by day through some more serious processes, how do we find agility again?
Hmm. So I love that you asked that question because it is so true. And, I'm actually kind of anticipating that myself with a 14-year-old, that things are, I don't want to have to put it this way, but things might get worse before they get better. And it's difficult to have emotional agility when you are constantly being barraged. But what you said was you and Dad are starting to get to a point where you're just getting a little bit more, and I'd call it prickly, because you've tried to be emotional, you've tried to be, agile for a while here. And it brings me back to something they told me one of the first couple of weeks when my son was diagnosed. They said, your son is exhibiting behaviors and doing things, but it's not to make your lot in life difficult. Difficult children ask for love in the most difficult ways. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not happy with that, because I would just rather have my son ask for love in the normal way. But sometimes these behaviors, the acting out, they are asking for that love, but they're asking for it in a very difficult, challenging way. And for you, particularly with addictions and things like that, you've been riding the roller coaster for a while. It's okay to tap out for a little while. And parents are always shocked when I say that. And I'm like, I'm not saying, abandon the situation, but there's only so much you can do. And in this case, your emotional agility is going to be tapping out for a little bit. And it's okay. And you'll have to not go with every zig and zag that your son has. That's going to be your emotional agility. Not getting angry at every little thing, that's going to be your emotional agility. And then when the opportunity presents itself, saying, we still love you. All of this is going on, but for right now, you've got us. We're tired. What we would really appreciate that you do right now is look at the impact that your behaviors are having, not only on yourself, but everyone else. And we may need a moment. And so it's going to be difficult. And there are times when you're going to have to take a break. It's almost like a boxer that's in a ring. You go out and you box and you box and box. That bell rings, you got to go back to your corner for a little while. When you come out of the corner, you'll have a little bit more energy to be more, emotionally agile again. But it's perfectly okay to just take a moment and just say, this is us taking a breather, and maybe we can't do anything right now. The only thing I would stress is if the behaviors are in such a way, you said they were detrimentally impacting your family. If it's a safety issue, if it's a legal issue, something of that nature, you do need to stay in it. You do need to stay connected. You still need to make sure that your son knows that this is not acceptable. Also bring to his attention what the ramifications of this continued behavior are, and to let him know, this is where we are right now. This is what could happen. We just need you to keep that in mind, so that there is some awareness on his part. So you're in it, you're in the fight, you're staying there. Give yourself the opportunity to rest. And if you do get a little bit of opportunity to rest, you can come back and be a little bit more emotionally agile. And I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask at this time? Would love for you to really take advantage of having Courtney here with us this morning. Does anyone else have a question?
Good morning. This is Taj.
Hi, Taj.
Good morning.
Hi. Thank you so much for this dialogue. I think it's so amazing. I actually work with youth and young adults. I actually full-time work with high school kids. So I'm just so proud to be in the room where you are confirming some of the things that I share with parents. Because as you know, I I deal with over 1,700 kids at my school in my capacity, and I always hear, the adults saying the kids are bad, and I'm always fighting. These kids are not bad, guys. you know, and the comment that you made, they're just having a hard time because households are so different. They're carrying so much weight.
Yes.
And I try to also offer to parents as well, is take advantage of resources like myself in the high school. You know,
Absolutely.
back off for a minute. If you have a place where they could get some of their support to alleviate some of the weight off of you, that's another way to take an approach to help you and help them.
Mhm.
So that is so good. And I'm so glad you shared that today because it makes me feel good that I'm saying the right things and doing the right things.
You really are. And the one thing about parents, a lot of the reason people end up in parent coaching is, and I'll be honest, they don't even really want to be there because everyone has this feeling of inadequacy or shame because they're like, well, I'm a parent, I should know. No, there is no manual. When you had that child, when that child was brought to you, no one said, here's the child and here's a manual. And you can just, thumb through and look up, okay, this situation. And as a parent, you need to use as many resources that are available to you. And then I have some parents that say, well, just, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so tired. I am so at the end of my rope. I don't know what my resources are. I don't even know where to look. And so I tell them, number one, you took a big step by reaching out to me, whether they're a client or not. And I'll tell them there are resources out there. You can start grassroots. You can start with a neighbor that you trust. Don't trust every neighbor, but you can start with a neighbor that you trust, a friend that you trust. If you are a spiritual person, you can talk to your spiritual advisor because there are many, many churches that are connected to a lot of different resources. And maybe they're church-based, maybe they're county or state-based. And I tell them, research one resource a day, one a day. And you would be surprised. In a month, you have 30 possible resources available to you. I'm not asking you to go get 30 resources in a day. I'm asking you, with the energy that you have for one day, look up one thing that can help you. Maybe it is a new counselor for your son. Maybe the next day it's a activity or a club that you can join that will give you an opportunity to step away. And for parents, they suffer in silence because they feel like they are parents and they should know what they're doing. There is no shame in saying, this is not what I expected and I need help. And I'm so glad that you are here as someone who works in the education system and you are telling parents and students these things because they need to hear it. And the resources are out there. You don't have to exhaust yourself looking for them. Take your time and then use those resources. Do not feel shame. Do not feel like, well, I'm not a good parent because I don't know. There are many people throughout history that did not know, and they did not know until they started looking. So give yourselves a break. And that's what I tell my parents. Give yourselves a break. You are not meant to know everything.
So good. This is so, so good, Courtney. Thank you. And thank you for sharing, Taj. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask? The dialogue is amazing today.
Yeah. And one thing I will say, Dr. Vicki, is when I was saying that, a lot of parents suffer in silence,
Yeah.
it's also because they feel like they can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
If I think long enough and if I work hard enough, something will be revealed to me and I'll be able to fix it. Before you get yourself to a place where you can no longer reach out, or you are just so angry that you don't have that emotional availability to reach out anymore, remember, you don't have to suffer in silence as a parent. You have not failed. You haven't.
That's so good. I want to go a little deeper into that about anger and guilt and how it paralyzes us and isolates and insulates us. Can you share a step or two to break through that?
Number one, it starts with awareness. A big part of my health coaching journey was I got really interested in nutrition and, how you could really make changes in your life through nutrition and mindfulness activities and mindful movement, just walking, being in nature, eating the right things. But I also learned through that process of when I got my son's ADHD diagnosis, the first thing I thought to myself was, I need to fix this. I think most of us come from that place of, I need to fix this. And we can't fix our children. They're not broken. They are who they are. They are unique, individualized human beings. They are not broken. They're a little bit different, and that's where that emotional agility comes in, because we have to flow with the differences that they have. But what I started with wanting to know about nutrition and wanting to be a little bit healthier, I realized that it was impacting me in terms of my emotional response to my son, in terms of how I was feeling. And when I felt better, I was able to do better for my son. When I was able to let go of some of that guilt, because you are absolutely right. When things are kind of off the rails, you are feeling so guilty. And that comes from that place of, I'm a parent, I should know. That's why I tell people one of the first steps is you have to let that go. No one is an expert in parenting. And you can read every book, you can watch every podcast, but your journey is going to be different from the person that's sitting next to you. So let that go. There's no manual, there's no magic formula. So you need to let some of that guilt go. And you have to realize that it's self-imposed. It's self-inflicted. And when you self-inflict that guilt, you are not letting yourself move forward. And you have to make a choice. You have to say to yourself, okay, well, I can sit here and I can have this pity party and have people feel bad for me. Or I can change my situation. And you can always change your situation. And it can happen very slowly, but it needs to happen. And when we decide that this is all too much and we want to feel guilty and we just let ourselves drown in it, it becomes something, you become incapacitated. You cannot move forward. So I tell people, first and foremost, show yourself the grace that you would show someone that you met in the same situation. If you were talking to someone and they were like, my son is doing this and I'm so tired and I can't get any rest and we're running out of money, you would be very sympathetic and empathetic to that person. Show yourself the same level of sympathy and empathy that you would a stranger or another parent. So start there and then start giving yourself a break, because no one is perfect. And spend some time in quiet when you have it. Even in a noisy room, you can be quiet. You can sit and be still, and you can watch the chaos going on around you. Just be quiet. And when someone says, what's wrong with you? Just say, I'm having a moment. I'll be right back with you. But you need to take those moments so that you can start letting go of some of that guilt and you can start moving forward. Because if you don't, you'll never see a change in your situation. And that's where a lot of people that's where they want to be. They stay because they want someone to come and fix it. No one can come and fix it for you. Just like you couldn't fix your child, no one can fix this for you. It's your responsibility, but you are capable. You are so capable of changing this. And that's what I tell people all the time. You are capable of changing this. You may not feel like it right now, but you are. You are. And that helps people kind of, pardon me, overcome some of that guilt, because they say, well, it's not just me. Maybe I can do something about this. And that helps them start to move forward.
That was a pregnant pause, because I just needed that to be absorbed as I am absorbing it. So helpful, Courtney. Just the reminders that we are capable and that we do have grace to parent our children. That's why they are ours. So to hear the reminder that we have the capacity, and what I hear you saying is ask for help, get support,
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do this alone. Again, which is the power of community,
Yeah.
the power of what we're doing here at SonRise. I have some more questions for you, but I want to, again, open the space. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask Courtney? Please, I see you, Leslie. You can unmute.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Courtney. So
Hi.
my name is Leslie, and I'm actually a health coach as well.
Excellent.
I specialize in women, but
Mhm.
from the parenting perspective, I know we've talked a lot about, how you assist your clients with supporting and being, there for the children, etc. I'm wondering how you support your parents just with all the pressure that comes with parenting. I want to get this right. I want, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Do I put my kid in a million sports and neglect my own personal time? Like, there's so much pressure that comes with parenting, from infants to adult children. Adult children. So can you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah. And oh my gosh, Leslie, I'm so glad you asked that question because I'm sort of right there right now as a parent. Pardon me. So I think the simplest answer is to know who you are. And the reason I answer it that way is because I'll give you my unique situation right now. My son is 14. He's in middle school. So he'll be going to high school next year. And we have so many friends that are looking into private school. And there seems to be this big groundswell for doing the interviews and taking the tests to get into private school. And I've talked to my son about private school, pardon me, on and off for the last couple of years going, do you think you'd be interested in going to private school? And he has quite a few friends that go to private school. And I said, well, this person that goes here, that person that goes there. So you go and you know someone. It's not like it's brand new and everything. And he's very reluctant to go. I think he'll do well at his high school. But now there's this groundswell of people in my neighborhood they're all interviewing for these private schools. And I said to my husband the other day, I said, should we be looking at private schools again? And he looked at me and he goes, seriously? Didn't we go through this? And I said, yeah, we did go through this. So when you talk about pressure of looking around at other people and what they're doing, what I have found just within the last 8 months of me being me and my son being my son, and me living my life is that I need to know who I am. So there are some things that I've cut back in my life just because as a health coach, at one point I said, I'm going to be this health coach and I'm going to be that $10,000 a month health coach and this and that and the other. I got into that world and I said, this is not me. I want to be that health coach that works with someone one-on-one. I don't want to be a face on Instagram. I don't want to be a face on Facebook. I don't want to be the person that sells you a package and then runs away. And so I brought that way back down. With my son, I'm going to let my son be who he needs to be. If he's not a private school kid, he's not a private school kid. And whatever the situation is, whether it is being a highly successful person or a kid that goes to private school or someone who drives, a certain car or has a certain job, you've got to know who you are and you've got to know what brings you joy and comfort. And you've got to be so okay with that. And you have to know that, and we hear this all the time, you are enough. It's very true. Who you are today is enough. Who are you trying to be? And who are you trying to be it for? Because when I took a step back and when I said, I want to be this $10,000 a month, coach, who was I trying to be that coach for? I was never going to be the coach of the people that I wanted to reach by working as a coach at that level. I'm working with the people that I want to work with, being at the level of being able to sit down with you wonderful people on a Sunday morning and talk to you at this level. So I would say it is so simple of know who you are. And when you start comparing, should we be going to private school? Should I be a more successful coach? Think about what makes you happy. Think about what brings you joy. And if you are good at that level, that's where you're supposed to be. Let other people go out and chase the windmills, you know? You be you, know who you are. And it took many years for me to get clarity about who I was and what I wanted to be doing and who I wanted to be helping. And now that I look at it, it is night and day from what I thought it was going to be. But it brings me so much comfort and it brings me so much satisfaction. And it's that awareness. It really all goes back to awareness. And people mix in awareness with mindfulness, and you can certainly do that. But be aware of who you are and where you are and what you're trying to do. And if what you're trying to do or where you think you should be is not congruent with how it makes you feel, you're not being who you are. So just be who you are.
I was mute because I was over here screaming.
I hope that answers the question, though.
Yeah, I love wherever you are good, that is where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you are good. And
You
I
are good.
love that you said, who are you trying to be? And who are you trying to be that for?
Who are you trying to be that for?
Ooh, that's a
Because when you
clarion
look at it really
call to check
closely, it may
in.
not be you.
Yeah, that's a clarion call to check in. Like, how does this make me feel? Does this feel good? Taj, I see your hand. Did you have another question or share? You can unmute, please.
I'm like you, Vicky. She was just spoke all to me right then. Because I just actually did what you said 3 years ago. I shut my windmill down of all things big, because it's just I learned that it was not serving me the way I needed to be served, and I needed to serve myself the way I was serving others. But the one thing I wanted to share that I'm learning on my new journey is that even for my friends, the one when you spoke about anger and frustration as a parent, the one thing that I really have been intentional on my journey is with my friends, like the D's of the world and my girlfriend Andrea. We all are parents, but our kids are extremely different. And the one thing that I've been very intentional about, because sometimes we rely on our circle so much and we want them to be able to give us the answers, to the things. And I learned that some of my friends don't have the capacity to be able to support my particular needs, but that doesn't make it wrong. That doesn't make them not my friend. That doesn't make it anything specific, only if my brain allows me to think that way. Correct. But I also have learned to be able to respect the fact that somebody like a D, she's not a big talker on the phone, but when we do talk, that's what she needs. She's trying to talk it through. My Andrea, she just needs me to ask her what she needs at that particular moment, because they have kids at different levels. So I'm trying to work on being intentional, and then I have to find my people that can do the same for me. When I'm not there yet. But the one thing that, even though you don't have yours, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be there for others. So those are the things that I'm learning for myself that I just wanted to share with parents in the room, because sometimes and the comparison thing, I was thinking that in my head before you even said it, because even from child to child, you might think because your child has this thing and they may be seeing new results and growth and different changes towards the positive, and that's why you cling to other people, because if they're getting fixed, mine can get fixed. No, it don't always work like that, but just be the champion in their life and just know that yours is going to come, and if it doesn't, that's your level that they're going to be at, and we have to celebrate them where they are.
Yeah, it's all about time. Everyone gets to where they're going. All of our loved ones, our sons, all the people who have these challenges in their lives, they're all getting to where they need to be in their own time, and we can't push them. We can't push them sooner than we'd like them to be. And one of the things I want to say is I love that you said, even though you have your circle of friends, they may need things from you, and you may need something and they're not quite fulfilling it, but really they are. And because when you talk to people in a group one-on-one, you are really changing the biology of that other person at a molecular level. You are having an impact on them, and they are having an impact on you. You both walk away from the exchange of whether you're giving or whether you're receiving, changed in some way. So don't forget that. So you may think you spoke with someone and your problem didn't get changed, but a problem shared is a problem half solved. So when you are talking to someone, you are actually still doing the work and you're getting what you need from that person when you thought you were giving to someone else. So keep having those conversations, because maybe in a couple of years now, something that you were helping someone else with could be your problem, and you'll say, oh, Dee dealt with that. Andrea dealt with that. What did we talk about? What did we do? So you are being changed right now by virtue of having those conversations. So keep having them. I applaud that.
I told y'all. This is just so amazing. I see your hand. Is it Prather?
Prather.
Prather.
Long-
Okay. Good morning. Sorry, Prather.
Oh, no worries, no worries. That don't mind at all. Good morning to everyone.
Good
I
morning.
wanted to. I could go on forever about everything that was said, so I'm gonna try to keep it short. What drew me to this podcast, this video call this morning, were a couple things. One, the title, Reclaiming Your Balance in Your Life as a Parent and Caregiver. And I think that's the way I think about it. First of all, let me just preface it by saying I am a mother of 3 special needs children.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also have a viewpoint of special needs families that goes beyond what people typically know special needs to be, which is usually people think of autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, that kind of a thing. And that's true. But my personal definition of a special needs family is when you have a member in your household whose needs, caregiving needs, extend beyond the call of duty for the average person, or average household, I should say. So I think anyone who has a child or a family member, because it could be a parent you're caring for example.
Absolutely.
It could be a child or whatever. But if their needs go beyond the call of duty for most folks, you are in a very unique special needs situation. And so your caregiving is, it serves a lot of roles. So my point to that is, I also noticed that you're in the bio for you for today's call, it says that you're a boy mom. I too am a boy mom, but I also have children with OCD. And so that's something that, as far as in the African-American or BIPOC community, I haven't met a lot of parents who also have a child with that particular diagnosis. I also happen to have a son with autism, and there's some other things going on. So the mental health component in my household is kind of high, and needs are very high. And then I also noticed that with today, when you mentioned being a parent health coach, that drew my attention. And my point to that is, parents need, I believe, caregivers and parents need a level of care that's different.
They do.
Than what other people might need. So I'm also a therapist, marriage and family therapist, and I specialize with special needs families. And I market to parents and caregivers of the special needs household, because my lived experience has taught me what those needs look like and how they are very unique. And just like you mentioned earlier, some folks don't have any clue what it took for you to pull off getting your child to school that morning.
Correct.
Or getting out the door, or making it from point A to point B. And I love how you say, I haven't been on your website to see, but I like this concept of the emotional agility, because you couldn't be more right. If you can't flow with the ups and downs of that, you will absolutely break.
Yes, you will.
And so all that to say, with the health piece, when I took my son through an online health program, he also has an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
And we went through this online health program to heal his autoimmunity naturally. We did start with the Western medicine route. Yeah. And he truly did not want to be on those heavy medications. And at the time, he was 16, but he did not want to be taking shots that basically suppress his immune system every 2 weeks. And and so I searched for something different. Yeah. In that group, there was about 20 adults in there for autoimmune issues, but there was one young person in the call in that group it was like a 9-week program. And there was one young person on the call who was strictly there for depression.
Mm.
And this health program was all about cleaning up your autoimmunity through healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, everything that you basically are teaching your families and so forth. And that really opened my eyes to the importance of food and nutrition on mental health, or basically food as medicine. And so it's become an avenue that I'm looking to get into and certified in and all of that. But I wanted to ask you if you, in your work, you briefly mentioned that yourself, when you took care of yourself nutritionally, it really changed your ability to manage and deal with the stressors of raising a child who has unique special needs. Have you also seen that trajectory with your families and whoever you work with when they change their food and nutrition and lifestyle, how it impacts their mental health? Have you seen that shift?
Yes, absolutely. So when we lower the sugar and when we increase protein and good carbohydrates, not the processed carbohydrates, you start to see more of a balancing. And it is really more, it is that sugar, you're all over the place with your sugar. So when people have diabetes and they have to manage it through a medication to keep it from going up and down, you can do that with food. And so I tell people, if you don't have allergies and you can have more of the eggs and cheese and protein-based vegetables, but I say, nuts, a lot of people are like, well, I like potato chips, switch out potato chips for nuts if you like them. You can do almonds, you can do walnuts. You want foods that are heavy in omega-3. You want foods that are heavy in vitamin D. Vitamin D is just a mood stabilizer. Lots of foods with magnesium in them. Those really bring down a lot of the depression and anxiety behaviors in people when they switch those in their diet. So there's a lot you can do through functional medicine. There's a lot more functional medicine doctors out there. And not only is it good for that autoimmune stuff, but when you're trying to tackle something that's autoimmune, you almost always impact something going on with your mental clarity, cognition. If they just go together. So, if you have questions, you can certainly reach out to me and I can kind of give you a little bit more of those informations. I would have loved to have gotten into more of those specific foods, but I can send you those magnesium-based foods, the vitamin D-based foods, omega-3-based foods. Those are the ways you want to go, and with more of the protein and limiting the sugars, and you will see a lot of good change in your mental abilities and behavior.
Yeah, and that's been my experience not only in my household, but then also with the few clients that I know take that route. So I was excited to see that happens to be your focus.
It works.
And I think it really behooves us to lead with that. There's nothing wrong with needing medications or any of that. When you need it, it's there. It's a tool in our toolbox. But I really strongly believe that we can alleviate a lot of our challenges through food and nutrition as well, especially, and I don't think people put the importance on mental health as it pertains to food and nutrition. So thank you
you're welcome. I was going to say, coming from that clinical research background, I know all the pharmaceuticals, and I know what they do and what they don't do. They don't cure, they mask whatever symptom that you have. So when people get really wedded to a pharmaceutical, that's why when they stop taking it, it stops working, or it kicks off something else. Start with your nutrition. Start with what nature wanted you to start with, healing your body through good foods.
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Thanks for that comment.
Look, this is like touchdown. This is so great. This is my touchdown symbol.
I'll do it with you.
This is so amazing. I want to invite you all, if you want to stay connected to Courtney, to follow up with her, to have a deeper conversation. Her website is in the chat. It's Committed Change Health, right?
.com. Very
all
long.
Spelled out. CommittedChangeHealth.com. Thank you, Courtney, so much for blessing us this morning. Ladies, I also want to invite you to join us on the third Wednesday of this month for Sisters Unfiltered at 7:30. You can register for that free community call on our website, thesonriseproject.com. And before we close, Courtney, I'd just like to give you space to give us some closing thoughts. We are a little over today, but it's been so rich and well worth it. No one has left because this has just been a full, wholesome conversation. So can you share just some final thoughts, please, before we end the call today?
Okay. And the reason I looked to my phone was my son is texting me. So he's taken a different route. He didn't bust in. He texted me, but that's the way it goes. So what I would say to everyone is everyone's journey is going to be different. Whether you decide to go essentially what is a holistic route, which is what I do, or whether you decide to have a pharmaceutical intervention, it really all starts with mindfulness and awareness and knowing that your journey is very different from someone else's. There's no judgment. There's no guilt. Know who you are. Live from a place of what makes you happy, what makes your household run, and loving the children that you were given just as they are. So embrace that child and embrace what comes with them day in and day out. Flow with it. Don't try to fix it. You're doing just what you're supposed to do.
And this has been an amazing Sunday support call here on the SonRise Project. Thank you, Courtney, again.
Thank you so
Committed
much.
Change Health is her website. And we'll just close with how we started. I love the serenity prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We will see you all again next Sunday at 9 a.m. Thank you all. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.